What's going on, everybody? So with the recent Dragon Ball Super manga chapter, we saw a second return of the Namekian Fusion or Assimilation in the Dragon Ball Super series. And within the three fusions, the Namekian one is the most vague and difficult to explain. There hasn't even been an official formula created, unlike with the other two. Yet I recently stumbled upon a small detail that might shed some light on the Namekian Fusion, and it might even explain the power multiplier as well. So from the top, when two Namekians begin fusing together, one of them is completely absorbed into the other Namekian. In other words, one of the warriors is the base, while the other one is donating their life energy, strength, memories, and intelligence to the base or the other warrior. Now, while the concept of fusion was originally used for Piccolo's merger with Nail, and then again with Kami during the Android arc, the other two fusion types have eventually changed by becoming temporarily fusing the two characters and creating an entirely new character with their own personality, attacks, and of course an increased power too, while assimilation has always remained as the permanent solution. Now, before we jump right into Piccolo's first fusion with Nail, we need to backtrack a little bit. But during the Namek arc, when Krillin was first brought to Guru to acquire a Dragon Ball from him, Guru needed to know Krillin's true intentions with the Dragon Balls before he would just give one away to anybody. After Krillin explained how all of his friends were killed by Saiyans that came to Earth, and how one of those same Saiyans has also traveled to Namek and has been causing mayhem once more in search of the Dragon Balls for his own wish as well. Krillin brought up how Earth also has its own set of Dragon Balls, and this reminded Guru of the child of Katats, the child that ended up being the guardian of the Earth, or also known as Kami. Guru states how the Saiyans are terribly powerful, even so much that they have killed the prodigy of the Dragon Clan, and he asked Krillin if the Saiyan had become a Super Saiyan. Of course, Krillin had no idea what this was, but this also brings us to our first point. We need to expand on why Guru compared Kami's original battle power to that of a Super Saiyan. Based off of this statement, I assume that the combined and multiplied strength of Demon King Piccolo and Kami would bring us closer to the understanding of the Namekian assimilation. So I'm assuming that Guru is comparing the power he is sensing from Vegeta, which is 30,000, instead of the actual power that Vegeta would have had on Earth, which was 18,000. Then based on what Guru said, the original or whole Kami, his power must have been around, but lower than 30,000. So now we need to do a little bit of math. We know that Demon King Piccolo's last stated battle power is 260, and Kami's last stated battle power is 180. And so now we'll take the sums of these two battle powers and we get 440. Then I think that the appropriate multiplier for the Kami Piccolo fusion to become whole again would be 50, only for their fusion, because it makes them whole, whereas in the fusion with him and Nail, he would just be taking over Nail's strength and intelligence and his memories instead. So that's why Piccolo's and Nail's fusion deserves a different multiplier. Anyways, so now if we were to go and multiply 440 by 50, our result is 22,000. Now this number is under 30,000. Now this power might be lower than Vegeta's, but for Kami's past times, this would have been an unimaginably high power level, triumphing over anything else. This is why Kami was the Dragon Clan prodigy. Now it's also worth mentioning that Namekian assimilation is very similar to the other two types of fusion in terms of the closer the two individuals are to each other in battle power, and as individuals in general, the better the results are of the fusion. When Piccolo was wished back to life and brought to planet Namek, he was finally at his true home world. In his way over to fight Frieza and save Gohan, he comes across a nearly dead Namekian warrior, Nail, and that's because of what Frieza did to him after their fight. Having faced Frieza directly, Nail knows the incredible power that he possesses, and attempts to convince Piccolo that he is not yet strong enough. Nail mentions that if Piccolo had only become one before arriving, Frieza would stand no chance against him. But I think Nail is comparing Frieza's first form power to Piccolo in this case. But seeing as it is hopeless to pursue this option, Nail offers his own life to Piccolo, saying that he is the only Namekian warrior left. Piccolo had to be reassured that he wouldn't be losing his personality in this fusion, and then that he only agreed to do this. When the dust finally settled, Piccolo would take another monumental step for his character arc development. Already finding a place in his heart for love and compassion, as seen while he was training Gohan, Piccolo now also has memories of an entire Namekian race thanks to Nail, as well as an incredible power-up. He arrives in the scene and instantly takes on second form Frieza alone, catching everybody by surprise, since we know that Frieza's second form battle power clocks in over 1 million. But to make our lives easier, we're going to say that Frieza's second form is double the power of his first, or 1,060,000. Yet Piccolo had the upper hand on Frieza. We can definitely say that Piccolo's power was at least 1,100,000. Now we know that Nail's official power level was stated to be 42,000, and now we know our unknowns in the Piccolo-Nail fusion equation would be Piccolo's power after the 6 days under King Kai's training and the multiplier of the actual fusion. Now when Piccolo was killed by Nappa, his power was 3,500, and we have to assume that Piccolo received an increase from King Kai's training, since Nail was very impressed with Piccolo's power. But I don't think that he would be as impressed with him if he stayed at the 3,500 mark or even grew to 5,000, because he only trained for 6 days, since the Namekian warriors all had a battle power of 5,000 on Namek already. So instead, I'm going to give Piccolo 2 power levels, a high ball and a low ball. The high ball would be at 33,000, which would be almost a 10 times boost, and a low ball of 13,000, which is almost a 4 times boost in those 6 days of training. Then we're going to add these two numbers to Nail's official stated power level, and for the high ball number we get 75,000 as the sum, and for the low ball number we get 55,000. Now if we take both of these numbers, since we have an end battle power result of 1,100,000 for Piccolo, now we need to solve for the multiplier. So we plug in all of the numbers into our equation and we solve for x. And so we find that for the high ball number, the multiplier for the Piccolo-Nail fusion would be about 15, while for the low ball number, it would be about 20. Since the fusion multiplier also changes based on the settings, like in this case, with Nail being badly injured and Piccolo also not being one whole being, like he should be with Kami, having a multiplier between 15 and 20 makes a lot more sense. This also wouldn't give Piccolo a massive boost in power just after 6 days of training with King Kai, where he mostly meditated anyways. Now we're going to cover Piccolo's second assimilation, his fusion with Kami. When Piccolo and Kami finally realized the threat that Earth is facing, they decided to become the one being that they originally were. While Piccolo remains the dominant character between Nail and Kami, he has definitely taken on a new personality, in addition to receiving an absolute incredible power-up. Now remember the multiplier amount that we solved for initially? We're going to be applying it to this fusion. So we know Kami's last battle power was 180, and when you compare that to Piccolo's power after his fusion with Nail, and on top of the 3 years of training in preparation for the androids, it really makes you think that Kami's power addition would be utterly useless, unless there's a large multiplier attached to this fusion as well. So once more, we're going to be assuming that after the 3 years of training with Goku and Gohan, Piccolo was boosted from just over 1 million to 50 million in that period. Now before you start commenting in the sections of that's a crazy boost, let's not forget that his sparring partner is a Super Saiyan, which was last stated to have a power level of 150 million. Once he would fuse with Kami, his power would soar to 2.5 billion. Now while the power level itself is becoming too large, and all based on my headcanon, I think that the 50 times multiplier is a way more suitable amount, since Piccolo would become stronger than any of the Super Saiyans, and then for also a brief time he would become stronger than Imperfect Cell, plus he would also be on par with Android 17. To summarize what I think the Namekian fusion formula is, it would be the sums of battle power A added to battle power B and multiplied by a number between 10 and 50, all depending on the second fuser, of course. So that's all for my opinion on this fusion, and how it differs between each person that Piccolo has fused with thus far. I hope this was able to shed some light on the Namekian assimilation that we saw during manga chapter 46, and why fusing together a dozen, well by this point, low-powered Namekian warriors, even if they are Namek's best warriors, still wouldn't make any sense when facing off with the likes of Moro, or really any villain in Dragon Ball Super as a whole. Let me know what your thoughts are on this theory. Tell me if you have your own formula for this fusion, or if your multiplier is different for any reason, and let's get this discussion going. And if you enjoyed this video, subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell so that way you know whenever new content goes up. Thank you everyone, I hope you have an amazing day, and until the next one, see ya.